You are barren and cold, and you want everyone else to be miserable just like you. My sister Clara screamed this right in my face, her body physically blocking the only exit from my apartment. Behind her, my niece and nephew were crying on the floor, surrounded by suitcases. She was trying to force me to sign a fraudulent affidavit so she could steal a school district slot for her kids while she went on vacation. I did not yell back. I stood completely still, holding a single manila folder. I just checked my watch. 2:01. The elevator dinged down the hall. Perfect timing. The auditor had arrived. Before I tell you what was inside that folder, and why my sister went from screaming demands to begging for silence in exactly 3 minutes, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? And what time is it for you right now? To understand why I was not screaming back at Clara, or why my pulse had not risen above 70 beats per minute, you have to understand how my brain works. I do not see family drama. I see supply chain inefficiencies. My name is Aileen, and for the last 7 years, I have managed international logistics for a tech giant. My job is to anticipate disasters, identify bottlenecks, and eliminate risk. I live my life by a simple principle. If you cannot track it, you cannot trust it. 3 hours before Clara showed up at my door, I was sitting at my kitchen island with a cup of black coffee and a spreadsheet open on my laptop. I was not looking at shipping containers from Shanghai. I was auditing the family inputs ledger for the last 36 months. The numbers were staggering. $22,000. That was the total amount I had transferred to Clara over 3 years. She called them emergency loans. I called them bad debt. I scrolled through the rows, looking at the memo lines I had meticulously filled out for every single transaction. Row 14. Emergency medical bill for nephew. I had cross-referenced the date with her social media archives. That was the same week she got preventative Botox. Row 26. Rent assistance to stop eviction. I checked the timestamps. 2 days later, she posted a photo of a new designer handbag with the caption, "Treat yourself." Clara was not just bad with money. She was a system gamer. She believed that rules, budgets, and laws were obstacles for stupid people, and that she was smart enough to bypass them all. She thought she was a genius who had hacked the system. She did not realize she was just a parasite bleeding a host. But the $22,000 was not the reason I was holding that folder. The reason was a single piece of mail that had arrived in my box 3 days ago. It was a letter from the Lake Washington School District. It was addressed to parent or guardian of Liam and Ava, but it was sent to my address. My penthouse. The address where no children lived. I opened it and read the headline. Notice of mandatory residency verification audit. Clara Bad not just asked to drop the kids off for a vacation. She had forged my signature on enrollment documents to steal a slot in the most expensive school district in the state. She was using my home as a shell address to defraud the taxpayers. And now, the district was suspicious. They were sending an inspector to verify that the children actually slept here. Most people would have called their sister immediately. They would have screamed, demanded an explanation, and told her to fix it. I did not do that. In logistics, if you intercept a shipment of counterfeit goods, you do not warn the smuggler. You let the shipment arrive at the dock. You let them sign the manifest. You let them take possession. That way, when you drop the hammer, they cannot claim it was a mistake. They cannot say it was a clerical error. You have them on record. So I waited. I knew she was coming. I knew she had to stage my apartment to look lived in before the inspector arrived. I watched the clock, I drank my coffee, and I prepared to accept the shipment so I could document the fraud. The invasion began exactly 2 hours before the inspector arrived. At noon, my buzzer rang. I did not hesitate. I pressed the button to unlock the lobby door and watched the security feed as Clara, my mother Brenda, and the kids piled into the elevator. They did not knock when they reached the penthouse. They just waited for me to open the door. And the moment I did, they swarmed in like an occupying army. Clara did not say hello. She dragged 2 massive suitcases into my foyer, the wheels leaving dark streaks on the marble. She looked around my living room minimalist, clean, quiet, and curled her lip in disgust. "God, Aileen," she said, dropping her keys on my console table. "It is like a morgue in here. Do you even live here, or do you just store yourself in a closet between shifts?" "It is freezing." "It is climate-controlled," I said, closing the door behind them. "It is soulless," she corrected. She turned to the kids. "Okay, go, scatter, make it look like you actually exist." My mother, Brenda, walked in behind her, carrying a bag of groceries. She gave me a look that was equal parts pity and disappointment. "Do not just stand there, Aileen. Help your sister. We have to make this place look lived in before the school official gets here. Honestly, you should be thanking us. We are finally bringing some warmth into this glass box." I leaned against the wall and watched them work. It was fascinating, in a morbid way. Clara began pulling props out of the suitcases. Dirty laundry. A half-eaten box of cereal. A toothbrush holder with 4 brushes. She was staging my home like a movie set. Put the Legos on the rug, she commanded my nephew. And leave your shoes by the door. Make it look messy. She walked over to me, holding a framed photo of her kids. She shoved it into my hands. Put this on the mantel. Right now. You are committing fraud, Clara, I said. My voice was even. You forged my signature, Clara laughed. It was a sharp, barking sound. She looked at me like I was a naive child who did not understand how the real world worked. Oh, grow up, Aileen. It is not fraud. It is strategy. Do you know how much the property taxes are in this district? Thousands. And since you do not have kids, that money is wasted. I am just reclaiming what the family is owed. She tapped her temple with a manicured fingernail. The system is designed for people who are too scared to take what they want. Only suckers follow the rules, Aileen. Smart people? We hack the system. I found a loophole. I exploited it. And now my kids get a private school education on the public's dime. You should be taking notes instead of judging me. I watched her preen. This was the core of Clara's personality. She did not see herself as a criminal. She saw herself as a genius. She believed that rules were suggestions for the mediocre, and that her ability to lie without blinking was a superior survival trait. She genuinely thought she was smarter than the school district, the government, and me. And besides, my mother added, unpacking a carton of milk and putting it in my fridge without asking. What else are you doing with all this space? You have 3 bedrooms, and it is just you. It is selfish, Eileen. Hoarding all this square footage while your sister is crammed into a townhouse. The least you can do is let the children use the address. It costs you nothing. It costs me my integrity, I said. Clara rolled her eyes and threw a pile of coloring books onto my coffee table. Your integrity does not keep you warm at night, sweetie. You are just bitter because you are alone. But do not worry. I am fixing that for you today. For the next hour, you get to pretend you have a life that actually matters. She clapped her hands at the kids. Okay, bathroom next. I want toothpaste in the sink. Make it look real. I watched them scramble. I did not stop them. I did not throw them out. I just checked the time. 1 hour and 45 minutes until the audit. The inventory was arriving. The evidence was being planted by the suspect's own hands. All I had to do was let them finish digging the hole. Here, let me help you, I said, stepping away from the wall. Clara looked at me, suspicious for a microsecond, before her vanity took over. She interpreted my submission as defeat. To her, I was finally bending the knee. To me, I was ensuring the chain of custody for the evidence was airtight. I picked up a pair of my nephew's muddy sneakers. Do not leave them by the door, I suggested. My voice helpful, almost meek. If you really lived here, you would kick them off near the TV while you were watching cartoons. Put them on the rug. Clara grinned. See? She gets it. Mom, she is actually trying. I walked into the kitchen. My mother was arranging cereal boxes in my pantry, pushing my organic quinoa and expensive coffee to the back to make room for sugary loops and juice boxes. It felt like a violation, a physical invasion of my sanctuary. Every instinct in my body screamed to grab her wrist and throw her out. But in logistics, emotion is a liability. Data is the only asset. If I kicked them out now, it would be my word against theirs. They could claim they were just visiting. They could claim I was hysterical. But if I let them stage the scene, if I let them physically alter the environment to defraud a government entity, then I wasn't just a witness. I was an auditor documenting a crime scene. You should put the kids' art on the fridge, I told Brenda. Magnets, high up like you are proud of it. Good idea, Brenda beamed, slapping a crayon drawing of a lopsided dog onto my stainless steel refrigerator. It makes the place look less sterile, less like a hotel for robots. I checked my watch. 1:30. 30 minutes to target. I moved through the apartment like a ghost, observing the transformation. They were thorough. Too thorough. They weren't just making it look like they lived here. They were erasing me. My architectural magazines were replaced by parenting tabloids. My laptop was shoved into a drawer to make room for an iPad playing cartoons at full volume. Clara walked into the kitchen, holding something ceramic. It was a mug. Cheap, pink, with "World's Best Mom" printed in peeling gold letters. She placed it right next to my espresso machine, front and center. There, she said, dusting her hands off. Now it looks like a home. You know, Aileen, you could learn something from this. A house is not a home until it is messy. Until it has purpose. Purpose, I repeated. Yes, purpose. Raising children. Contributing to the future. Not just managing boxes. She gestured vaguely at my life. I mean, What do you even do all day? You track shipments? You move things from point A to point B? It is so temporary. What I do? Being a mother? That is eternal. I looked at the mug. I looked at the muddy shoes on my white rug. I looked at my mother, who was currently rearranging my throw pillows to hide the expensive labels. You are right, Clara, I said. Tracking things is very important. You have to know exactly where everything is. Otherwise, you lose control of the inventory. I checked my watch again. 1:55. Is the inspector coming soon? Brenda asked, nervously smoothing her skirt. Any minute now, I said. You should probably sit on the couch. Look natural. Read a book to the kids. They settled in. Clara pulled the kids onto her lap, posing like a Renaissance painting of maternal devotion. Brenda sat nearby, beaming at the tableau. They looked perfect. They looked like a loving family, enjoying a quiet afternoon in their luxury penthouse. They looked exactly like fraudsters waiting to be caught. I walked to the foyer and stood by the door. I placed my hand on the manila folder resting on the console table. Inside was the affidavit I had notarized at 9 a.m. this morning. Inside were the security logs I had printed out at 10 a.m. I wasn't passive. I wasn't a doormat. I was the gatekeeper, and I had just locked them inside the trap. At exactly 2 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Clara smirked at me. Showtime, Aileen. Do not mess this up. I did not smile back. I just opened the door. A man stood in the hallway. He wasn't a police officer, and he wasn't a lawyer. He was a middle-aged man in a beige raincoat holding a clipboard and a digital tablet. He looked tired, efficient, and utterly bureaucratic. This was Mr. Vance, the residency verification officer from the Lake Washington School District. Clara was on him instantly. She swept forward, her face arranging itself into a practiced expression of harried, loving motherhood. Hi. You must be from the district, she gushed, extending a hand. I am so sorry about the mess. You know how it is with kids. We have been trying to get organized, but Liam left his shoes right in the entryway, and Ava is just obsessed with her coloring books right now. Come in, come in! She gestured grandly to the living room, where my mother was sitting stiffly on the couch, reading a book upside down. Mr. Vance stepped inside, his eyes scanning the room. He did not smile. He looked at the muddy sneakers by the door. He looked at the cereal boxes on the counter. He looked at the world's best mom mug sitting next to my espresso machine. I appreciate you letting us visit on such short notice, Mr. Vance said. His voice was dry. We just need to verify a few details regarding the enrollment applications for Liam and Ava. Standard procedure for out-of-catchment flags. Of course, Clara nodded vigorously. We have nothing to hide. As you can see, we are fully settled in. My sister Eileen, she gestured to me, is so happy to have us. It takes a village, right? Mr. Vance turned to me. He checked his clipboard. You are Aileen? The leaseholder of this unit? I am, I said. And you are listed as the primary resident sponsor on the affidavit of support submitted with the application, he stated. Miss, Clara indicated that she and the children reside here full-time, 4 nights a week minimum. Do you confirm this? Clara shot me a look. It was a warning glare, sharp and desperate. Sign the paper. Play the part. I did not look at her. I looked directly at Mr. Vance. No, I said. The air left the room instantly. Clara's smile froze, twitching at the corners. Excuse me? Mr. Vance asked, his pen hovering over the tablet. I reached for the manila folder on the console table. I opened it and pulled out a thick, sealed document. I handed it to him. I do not confirm that, I said, my voice steady and clear. This is a notarized affidavit of non-residency. I had it stamped at my bank this morning at 9 a.m. It states, under penalty of perjury, that I am the sole resident of this apartment. No children live here. No children have ever lived here. Aileen! Brenda gasped from the couch, dropping her book. What are you doing? Clara hissed, stepping toward me. She is joking. She is having a bad day. I have also included the security access logs for this unit for the last 6 months. I continued, ignoring them. I pointed to the second page in Mr. Vance's hand. As you can see, there is 0 record of my sister's key fob ever being used until 2 hours ago. The timestamps highlight that she entered the building at 12:05 p.m. Today. Mr. Vance looked at the document. He looked at the time. He looked at the scattered toys. So, the children's belongings. Mr. Vance started, looking at the muddy shoes. Staged, I said. My sister and mother arrived 2 hours ago with suitcases to stage the apartment for this inspection. The toothbrush in the bathroom is dry. The clothes in the closet still have the tags on them. This is a fraudulent attempt to secure a school district slot using my address without my consent. Clara lunged. She did not hit me, but she grabbed my arm, digging her nails in. "Shut up! You liar! Tell him the truth! Tell him we live here!" I pulled my arm away. "The truth is in the paperwork, Mr. Vance. I am not a guardian. I am not a sponsor. And I am formally reporting this as an attempt to defraud the district." Mr. Vance stepped back, his board detachment gone. He photographed the muddy shoes, the planted mug, the half-unpacked suitcases. "Evidence of intent to defraud," he muttered, typing rapidly. Clara went pale. The charm act was over. "You can't do this," she whispered. "You're ruining their future." "No," I said. "I'm auditing the present." Mr. Vance looked up. "Based on the homeowner's affidavit and access logs, this application is denied. This file will be forwarded to the district legal team. You are ineligible for enrollment." Clara's panic hardened into calculation. "She's lying," she said, forcing tears. "She's not a victim, she's an accomplice." She shoved her phone forward. $22,000. "She sold me this address." My mother backed her instantly. "It's true," she sobbed. She demanded payment. To an outsider, it looked damning. Mr. Vance turned to me. "Selling residency privileges is a crime." "I didn't," I said calmly. "Then explain the money," Clara snapped. I didn't argue. I reached into my work bag and placed a thick binder on the table. "You're right," I said. "That amount requires documentation." I opened it. Tab 1. Access logs. 0 entries for Clara. Tab 2. Financials. Each transfer was printed and highlighted. "Read the memo lines," I said. "Loan for asthma medication. Emergency rent assistance. Car repairs. Repayment pending." Clara's confidence faltered. Every dollar was labeled as a personal loan. I continued. "Which brings us to tab 3. I turned to an official tax form. I declared the entire amount as bad debt. If this was rent, I would have reported income. I didn't. So either it was a loan, or you just confessed to unreported income." Silence. Mr. Vance closed the binder. He wrote a citation and handed it to Clara. "The district is seeking restitution of $60,000. Brenda begged. Then I spoke. "You co-signed her lease," I said. "That makes your retirement collateral." Brenda stepped back. "Survival 1. I need to call my bank," she said. Leaving, Clara dragged her suitcases out, screaming about money. "That's a logistics problem," I said. "And I'm off the clock." When the door shut, the apartment felt light. Clean. I threw the staged mug into the trash. It shattered. I deleted Clara's contact. Reset the door code. Secure. I lost a sister that day, but I saved my future.